Throwdown Nation, welcome aboard. We are live on a Thursday night, October the 10th, 2024. We are streaming on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. All streams are going, and tonight we are in for a real treat. We are going to have with us tonight as our guest Marty the Moth Casaus. Marty, for those of you that are not familiar with him, is quite a character. He is a veteran of wrestling, having been a part of Lucha Underground and WWE Tough Enough, just to name a few places the man has wrestled. We're waiting on Marty to join us. He and I have been messaging back and forth. He's got a couple of things he's finishing up, but he should be with us fairly soon. What I'm going to do in the meantime and the in-between time is I'm actually going to share my screen and just play a short promotional video for Marty that'll sort of give you a taste of what he's all about and the types of things we can expect tonight. So I'm going to share my screen and play a short video.
My name is Martin. They call me a Moth. I wrestle. Are you not entertained? Oh yeah! At one point I want you all to take a picture of that! We doing this Lucha country style! Oh yeah. My name is Martin. They call me a Moth.
And we're still waiting on Marty. He should be with us momentarily. So while we're waiting, I can go ahead and fill you in on some information as to what is coming in the days ahead. Next week, Monday, October 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be doing episode 37 of the Throwdown with a wrestler based right here in Georgia by the name of Edward Draven. Then on Tuesday, October 15th, also at 7 p.m., I've got wrestler and podcaster Chris Carnage, who is going to be joining me for episode 38. And that should also definitely be a treat. He's also a bit of a character. Wednesday, October 16th at 7:30 p.m. Aha, we have Marty. Marty. I'm not hearing you. Not hearing your audio, bud. You're not muted on my end.
How about now?
I've got you now.
All right. I'm going to plug this in so you don't hear an echo. I'm sorry. I was trying to figure out how to play on my channels, but it wouldn't let me do it after the stream started. So I apologize.
Not a problem, sir. How are you tonight?
Life is grand. Life is amazing. Life's what you make it. So might as well make it grand.
I completely agree with that philosophy. So just a couple of things I'll let you know. Something that we do on these is we play something called the speed round game, and so periodically during our time together, I'll stop and I'll say speed round and I'll just name a name, and you just tell me the first thoughts that pop into your head when I do that.
Okay, groovy.
And then at the end, we'll do a quick thing. I've got the card listed, but I'd like to get your predictions for AEW Wrestle Dream.
Okay. Yeah. Just have to read me the list so I don't know them all.
Absolutely. So we'll start with the first and most obvious question, Marty, and that is, how long have you been wrestling?
So, crazy enough, this is October. I started in October of 2003. So in a couple weeks here, we'll have my 21st anniversary in professional wrestling. My wrestling career has become an adult.
Wow. It's about to be able to drink. Yeah.
Might as well get started. All right, wrestling career, let's do this.
Go for it. So, in your initial days, who actually trained you?
My initial days there's a promotion here that used to be here called UCW0. It was run by a man named Steve Nelson, and then Derek Hubbard is another man that trained me. Two guys that are no longer really in the business anymore, but I'm super grateful for what they taught me to get me started here. Tom Howard always is another one who says, "Hey, tell everybody I trained you." So, but Tom helped a lot in doing some things. So Tom Howard, Steve Nelson, and Derek. We called him Janae, but Derek Hubbard.
Gotcha.
Good guys.
Speed round.
Ooh.
Jim Duggan.
Seems cool. I don't really haven't met him or haven't had any experiences with him to have anything more to come up in my head than seems cool.
Gotcha. So, what I'm guessing that you've probably been a fan of this stuff at least the majority of your life. What would you say is your earliest wrestling related memory?
Actually, it would be. I'm just putting the stream. I know people have been asking about being on the show, and I wanted to make sure to get them the information to do so. So, people know about your show here, Matt.
Wow, that's that's exciting.
Actually, the earliest memory of wrestling for me is in the house that I'm currently in right now. When my grandpa passed away, we bought his house, kept it in the family. But right up there in my front room, they had a TV, and I remember sitting with my grandpa. Well, so I was standing, but I remember an image of me standing next to my grandpa while he was sitting in the couch with my uncle, and they were watching wrestling. And I'm like, "What is this? There's like 5 guys beating up somebody. That's messed up. Like, what's going on? There's like everyone's beating up that guy. Why isn't anybody help?" So they had me, and I want to say it was NWO or something like that, but I can't verify that. But it was an early memory here with my grandpa and my uncle in this very house. It was kind of cool that now I get to live here and sometimes take a second to stop and like, I've had an amazing career. If I died right now, I feel like I've had an amazing life. But it all started in wrestling because of standing in this exact same spot with my grandpa when I was not even a teenager. So probably a teenager, but that I was drop kicking my brother in the backyard. So it was
very cool. Very cool. And you know, the synergy of that you're sitting here talking to me in the very house that you have your earliest memory of the sport is very cool. So
yeah, it is. I am blessed. We'll say it that I am blessed. I get to constantly remind myself of where I've been, and what kind of fun, crazy journey this been. Especially now, you got me thinking, Matt, about how holy crap, it's been 21 years. Time flies so fast.
It does. You know, my son recently turned 15, and man, it feels like just yesterday he was a toddler. You know, they say don't blink, And
Yeah.
time really flies, man. It really, really does.
Matt, say
So,
hi. I'm going on in my Instagram right now. Hi, Matt. We're live here with Matt
hey,
on Throwdown with Matt.
awesome,
Come check it out.
awesome. Thank you for doing that, Marty.
No, I feel bad. I was excited to put all this on all of my socials and have it on my TikTok, on my Instagram, etc. But it kept giving me an error when I was connected. Then it's like, hey, you can't do it after he starts. I'm like, dang it. So
Right.
now my audience isn't getting to see you. So if I let them know there's a link somewhere, then they can have that opportunity. So I know I've been asked about, hey,
You can send them to my Instagram, and there's a link to my link tree that has the links to all my various socials. And it's like I said, we're live right now on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch.
ooh, hello, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and all the rest.
Yes, yes, yes. So you mentioned very quickly being out in the backyard drop kicking your brother. But
Yes.
at what point did you look at the TV and think, I actually think I could do this?
Not until I got in the ring did I ever think that. And to be honest, I never thought I'd be able to do the things that I've done. I was like, I like this wrestling thing. And then as soon as I set my, I remember it vividly that I saw the ring the first day of practice, and I'm like, this is cool. And then I'm like, as soon as I step my foot in, I'm like, crap, I'm gonna have to do this forever. And then I was hooked, and I just practiced a whole crap ton. But it wasn't until that very first time when I stepped through the ropes that I'm like, I could do this. But I never thought I could do this to the level that I've been lucky enough and blessed enough to be around. But as soon as I put my first foot in the ring the very first time, that's when I knew. I'm like, this is for me. This is something that I'm going to spend some time doing.
Gotcha.
First day of practice. I did never believe that I could while watching it on TV. I always thought it was a good boys club, an old boys club where 30 of your friends are just a nice tight knit group that apparently beat the crap out of each other. And I wasn't too far off, but
Speed round.
Ooh,
Hiroshi Tanahashi.
seems fun to wrestle. Never met him. Haven't had a chance to meet him yet. So,
Gotcha. So, as you know, I'm fully aware that training is an ongoing, lifelong type of thing. But in your early days of training, what was the most challenging part of the training?
Man, when I was first starting, I didn't know there's an independent scene to start making a name for yourself. I didn't know the depth of what the pro wrestling business is. I just knew if I practice a whole bunch, I could be in the ring in front of my friends here and in front of the crowd in Utah. And I always thought that was cool. Probably, I would say the hardest part was the physical part because I was there like 4 or 5 times a week. We'd go for 4 or 5 hours every single day. I would say that's the hard part, but I was pretty physical coming out of high school, coming right into wrestling. So it wasn't really that. Hardest part. I was so excited about everything. There was nothing that was so hard. I guess that's when you want something so bad to stuff. It makes stuff that would normally seem hard. Like, okay, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, drive 8 hours to do that to make hopefully $20. Yeah, I could possibly do that. Yeah, I can just go right into work right after I get back from driving 12 hours. Yeah, I could do that. No big issue. That'd be awesome. Hardest part I would normally say is the physical. The part I wish I knew more when I first started was the business side of things. And I know I read some questions you were asking before, but I don't want to jump ahead. But I wish I knew more of the business side of things because I believe wrestling is maybe 10, 20% what you do in the ring. And then there's so much more that you have to do out of it so that the marketing, the hey, this is what my character is, the Kevin Cross or Karrion Cross now put so much awesome video content out that made his character before he ever went to the WWE. Then
Oh yeah.
WWE's just grabbed it and like, well, here we are. We don't have to do anything. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yep.
So, and that has nothing to do with how great of a clothesline he can throw.
Right. Right.
So
it's taking the effort to flesh out your character through other means than necessarily being in the ring or even being on a weekly show, doing other things, and with technology the way it is now, there's so many opportunities to do that, and it's exciting when guys exercise their creativity and and do things to make their character even more larger than life.
absolutely,
I completely dig that stuff.
Yeah, I'm digging it now more. It's just like when you think about wrestling, you don't think about like, well, I got to be good on social media. Well, I got to be good at marketing this. You think of like, oh, I got to have a good match. When you first start out, that's all you care about is like I want to wrestle. So that's what you do. So it's amazing the stuff that goes into it that a lot of people don't originally sign up for.
Right.
It's running your own business. It's running your own business.
Absolutely. The business of you.
That's right. You Incorporated. That's a very important business.
Yep. So, away from wrestling, what are some of your other hobbies and interests? I know you do a lot of streaming yourself and things like that. So, tell me a bit about that, and just tell me about what do you like to do?
I love creating things. I've realized. While wrestling, that makes a real easy transition to go into like film, movies. I love making movies. So throughout my wrestling career, I've been doing some film. This Sunday, I'll be in just a fan film of a James Bond thing. I played the bad guy. Super fun to like take some of the wrestling stuff you've done for 20 years and like incorporate it. And now I'm doing stunts. I did stunts on an Adam Sandler movie a couple years ago with Shad before he passed away, and it was taking the skills. When they saw me do one thing in the ring, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And they're not used to seeing wrestling up close. And then they're like, "Do you need a pad or anything like that?" I'm like, "That'll mess me up. Just, I got this." So film, I love creating things. So film, I've done a lot of work in my house. We built the whole thing from scratch. We took it down to the sticks and built it back up. When I have to do it, I really enjoy doing it. So I love creating things. I run a business. I have I'm really big into self-development. Pretty much I know I believe that the better you are to the world, and the more profitable you become, the more successful you become in all areas of life. So I'm big into personal development. I love streaming because I get to hang out with my community and play video games and not feel guilty that, hey, I'm playing video games. And I love creating stuff. So creating stuff, business, like I love creating businesses. Obviously what I'm doing right now in wrestling is a business. But also I have like my content creation because that breaks off into stuff I get to do with my wife where we get to do our fun little skits. So then that breaks into my actual company, which is helping transaction fees. Anytime you buy something, you get paid. So like I like building things, I guess, is my big thing. And it's always been a blast because it takes me from riding ATVs off of a cliff to jumping off a top rope, creating a wrestling match to now I'm talking smack to Adam Sandler. And then I'm building stuff in my house. Like it just makes, with creating kind of how I base my life. Like I love creating things, including film, this house, businesses, and doing so has created such an interesting life of like, what in the heck, that I'm super blessed. So creating things is my answer to that question. That was just a long-winded answer, but creating things, and helping people.
Got you. Just to kind of give you a bit of a rundown, I've been a fan of this stuff, varying levels of fandom over the course of my life since I was around 11 as a kid in Florida, and I just turned 55 a few weeks ago.
All right.
So I mean, I grew up in the territory days, saw the Monday Night Wars start to finish, rise and fall of ECW, you know, the ups and downs with WWE. And I've got to say, right now has got to be one of the most exciting times to be a fan because there is so much stuff out there. There are so many great independent companies really putting together great matches and good product. And you know, so many places for guys to work and hone their craft. You know, it is just such an exciting time to be a fan. Man, it's and it's sort of funny. I wasn't really fully aware of it when it was going on, but I've recently sort of rediscovered Lucha Underground,
Oh,
and
nice.
I'm going down that rabbit hole. I'm just about done with season 1,
Ooh.
so I've still got a lot more of it to watch. But man, that was such a cool way to present wrestling. Just a very different way to view it. And I was just wondering how you got involved in that. What was the story behind your involvement with it? Because you know, I really am really digging that stuff. So how did it come about that you became a part of it?
I loved going off what you said. I loved Lucha Underground because it was a TV show about a pro wrestling
Right,
program rather than a pro wrestling group with a TV show.
right.
So we have like gods fighting people. We have deaths. We have time travel. We have demon possessions. I torture and kidnap people, just to let you know in the future. Just
Oh,
a
cool.
spoiler alert. But you don't see that anywhere else. You don't see time travel. You don't see like Mortal Kombat deaths or fights on the roof.
Right.
It was really cool. But strangely enough and awesomely enough, funny how life works is what got me to Lucha Underground was WWE Tough Enough.
Hmm.
I went on WWE Tough Enough with Stone Cold Steve Austin, whatever season that was. And one of the producers really liked what I did, I became friends with one of the producers there, and he has a soft spot because he came from Utah. And
Mhm.
then so when the idea of Lucha Underground was being thrown around, I get a random text years later. It was Lucha Underground was 2011. And I get 2016 probably is when I was starting getting texts like, hey, we're thinking about bringing Lucha Libre to America. Aren't you half Mexican? I'm like, yeah, I actually am. He's like, beautiful. I'll be in touch. I'm like, okay. so, so actually it was Eric Van Wagenen. So God bless Eric Van Wagenen. You changed my life and I appreciate you very much, good sir. He was one of the producers of WWE Tough Enough. We became friends there. And then when the idea of Lucha Underground came to him, because he's the one who also produced Lucha Underground, he thought of me, and then I just showed up. And what I was originally going to be a what's it called now? I have a brain fart. Magician. I was going to be a magician with beautiful Brenda as my Vanna White. And we played with several gimmicks, and I didn't even get to wrestle. You won't even see me from a lot of season 1 because I ended up getting a concussion in season 1 and being there, but not able to do anything but sit there and cheer on the guys and high five them. And it was a good match because of concussions. I couldn't wrestle for like 3 weeks, and we only had we shot everything in a couple months. So like the time that insurance said, hey, you can wrestle is the time where like the show ended. I'm like,
Gotcha.
great. But luckily Eric Van Wagenen, he's the man who helped me get into WWE Tough Enough, which then transitioned into helping me get onto Lucha Underground.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm definitely looking forward, like I said, to getting further along into into the show. You know, there's unfortunately there's only so many hours a week to watch wrestling, so I'm
Yes.
working my way through it, but it's I'm definitely enjoying it. So, out of curiosity, you know, your character in Lucha Underground mentions that the Moth is his spirit animal. How did the Moth nickname come about?
Another man who changed my life in professional wrestling, Krista Joseph. I love you. Krista Joseph is one of the writers in Lucha Underground.
Okay.
When I went in there originally, they didn't know what they wanted to do with me. They just knew, hey, he's a nice guy and he can wrestle. We're just not sure how he fits into the picture of what we're doing yet. And I was a magician, and then I got like, oh, I don't know if we like that, but you did make us laugh, because my whole point was to go into Lucha Underground and be comedic relief. I like making people laugh. I like making an ass out of myself to make people laugh. That's fine too. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of wrestling, is to entertain somebody. And for me, looking like a hard ass to me, like I'd never felt like a hard ass in my real life, but I usually felt like a big kid. So, what happened was, I was a magician. They're like, that's cool. Let's see what you do normally. Just like you, be you, do your normal wrestling character as Martin Casaus. I'm like, cool. All right. So I went and did that match. I was in there with Escobar. His name was King Cuerno.
Yeah.
He's in there now. But Escobar, he clotheslined me over the rope, and it was just, the ring was just like this much taller than what I'm used to. So my feet went all the way through. I did a backflip because he clotheslined me, and my feet went all the way through. I knocked myself out. And then I wake up in pink spandex in the hospital. And I'm like, well, that sucks. That's when the insurance thing happened. And then when I came back, and I'm stressing at this point, like, man, the magician thing, I didn't really love. They thought about having me come out as a Mormon character, essentially, because I'm from Utah. And I'm like, I don't really love that, because my wife's parents are Mormon, so I don't want to like piss them off. I still like this girl. So now I'm thinking, like, I'm gonna get fired. Like, this is gonna suck. And but Krista Joseph came to me one time. He's like, we figured it out. Your name is Marty the Moth. You're a big kid who's not all there. Go. And then he walked off. And I'm like, what? He walked off, and then he just walked off and gave me an answer. He's like, yeah. Then I chased him down. I'm like, wait, so what? So I'm Marty the Moth? Like, yeah, you're Marty the Moth. You're from the Moth tribe. And we just figured, be you. Just be a big kid who's just happy to and not all there. I'm like, what is, sure. Okay. He's like, figure it out. I'm like, all right. But I believe the original intention was to have me with like an actual moth wings and like a cape with moth wings and be a physical moth. But the story behind this, to answer your question, sorry, I'm long-winded today.
Oh, go for it. I mean, this is great.
The whole point of it was, I'm part of the Moth tribe now. And so my name is Marty the Moth. I'm from the Moth tribe, and they had it was Puma tribe, the Moth tribe, etc. And you're Marty the Moth, and so you're part of that tribe. And the whole I have a sister that comes in eventually. You'll see that. So I think they invented that tribe, like, and made me as part of that tribe. They didn't know what to do with that tribe, and here I am. But yeah, they gave me, hey, you're Marty the Moth. You're a big kid who's not all there. And then just let me run with it, and credit to them. They told me, like, hey, we kind of want you to be the comedic character. And to their credit, Krista Jones, that character, I am a big kid, man. I like I like to play video games. I like to make people smile. When I get excited, I jump up and down like a 12-year-old. Like, I am a big kid. I am all there. My head, I always say my head is dense, but I made a whole character around that, because what happened with Marty the Moth is I was a comedic relief. I wanted to go in there and make people laugh. But then I went and talked to Vampiro, and I'm like, brother, I love the comedic character. I like making everybody laugh, but I just want to put another layer to the character, because most of the time comedic characters don't ever win championships. And if they do, they don't ever get to keep them very long. So I'm like, I would love to, I can make people laugh, but also I could kill you if you turn your back on me. Mm-hmm. So I wanted something. I'm like, I like to try and figure out something. And then all of a sudden in a later season, I'm not going to spoil things for you, but I went from the comedic, and it's going to be fun. Now that you've interviewed me and now you're going to hopefully go watch all 4 seasons, I really do believe that, and I don't want to like toot my horn or be excited about things, but I do believe in Lucha Underground, Marty the Moth had the biggest story arc and character development from season 1 to season 4 than anybody else.
Awesome.
I went in there like knocking and like asking as a fan, according to the show, as a fan, I was asking like, hey, is there any spot I can go in there and wrestle essentially? And bugging Dario Cueto, and then coming out as the Lucha Underground champion for the final episode. So I'm like, that's a story. That's a character development at its finest. But the fun thing is when after I talked to Vampiro, we broke for season 2, from season 2 to season 3. And then they came up to me one day and said, I'm kidnapping Sexy Star. I'm like, okay, that went from like, haha, like comedic haha to like, no, I'm just kidnapping women and torturing them for months. I'm like, okay, that could work. So we did that. We ran with that. And then I just went deep into, like you were saying earlier, character development. Character development is so important in wrestling.
Oh, it is. It is. And, you know, I find the character side of wrestling just fascinating. I mean, you know, and the people that can seamlessly shift from heel to baby and back and really not change much about their character, but very subtle elements. To me, that's magic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, and the people that are really good with their character are just invaluable.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind.
Absolutely. I believe art imitates life. And in life, no one ever believes they're the bad guy.
Right.
The bad guy always believes he's doing the right thing.
Yep. And, you know, as a fan, I've always found myself gravitating more toward the heels because the heels, well, probably, but the heels to me are more compelling characters because, you know, there's always the why. Generally, they're not an asshole just to be an asshole. There's a reason why they are the way they are. And delving into the backstories and everything, I just think is beyond cool. But speed round. Dustin Rhodes.
Love him. Hilarious. Great to work with.
Cool.
I wrestled him back in like 2007. He was good. He was great to work with. He had sorry, now I'm going off on stories. That's not the speed round rules. My bad. I love Dustin. He's great.
So I know that you're currently located in Utah. Are you pretty much Utah born and Utah bred? I'm thinking you are because you're mentioning that you're in your grandfather's house and all that. So
born and raised in here in Utah. That's right. Just like 20 minutes out of Salt Lake City. And the grass is always greener on the other side. So everyone's like, no matter what my home state is, somewhere else is gonna be way cooler. And I totally do want to move out of here eventually. But like, this is where my family is. This is where I have my roots. And I am getting able to travel so much that I am satiated with I would rather learn all these different cultures and then find the one that fits me best rather than just go somewhere because of a job or something that I need to be there for. So I'd rather just find a fun place to live. And I think Vegas might be it. So Vegas, here I come. I'm going to be up all inside of you eventually.
Yeah. So what would you say is your favorite thing about Utah?
Honestly, I think, and I don't take advantage of it. Like I said, the grass is always greener on the other side, and what you have, you a lot of times take advantage of. It is gorgeous out here. Like the mountains are out here. It's great for hiking. Olympians come out here to do snowboarding and stuff like that. When I travel, I don't realize there's giant mountains not there until they're not there. I went to Oklahoma and wrestled matches. I'm like, this is flat as hell. There's nothing up there. It's just the sky. but also just the culture where, like, from what I understand from the people coming in, that Utah is one of the nicest places where, like, if a stranger is lost, somebody will help them. If a stranger is, people are nice to talk to people next to them. The only place I've ever seen that as much to that detail, everyone's always nice, but like, I don't know. I always hear from people saying, "Hey, when I go to Utah, that's some of the nice people." The only place I've known of people as nice is probably Japan, because they have a culture that is so
Polite.
polite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, when I went to Japan, I lost my cell phone. My cell phone, I lost it. I went out and drunk. I went out and drink with Ricky Banderas. Do that with your own risk. And I lost my phone, and I told the hotel, they told me to tell the police. I'm like, I don't think it's stolen. I think it's around here somewhere. Like, don't worry, they'll find it and then they'll give it back to you. Like, what? Like, yeah, no, the people here don't steal. We give it back to you. Like, really? Like, all right, sure. I'm making plans to get a new cell phone, and sure enough, a day later, like, hey, this guy came up, found your phone. I'm like, where was it? Just on the sidewalk. A couple people grabbed it, couldn't figure out who it was, and so they gave it to the cops. I'm like, that would never happen in America.
Mm-mm.
In America, that's already on Amazon. Someone's
yeah.
selling it on eBay. So
it's on the dark web. I mean,
yes, right. All my pictures in there too. Yeah, that's everywhere. That's on the social medias. Yeah,
Yep.
I think that my favorite part of Utah is just how gorgeous it is. The culture is of really nice people is good too. But at the same time, I don't go snowboarding or skiing or anything like that. I just like to look at it. I need to take advantage of it, but that's probably one of my favorite parts of Utah is the culture is so interesting. And also with like the religious aspects here being a mostly LDS like focus in this state. Like there's a lot of people who have like strong distinctions one way or the other of I either hate this subject super hard or love this subject super hard. But there's no in between. It's like I was like I couldn't have sex until I was married. And then so now I'm going crazy because I'm a repressed whatever. Or like same with drugs, alcohol, going out, and or even actually you're to a degree, and to some people you're not allowed to drink sugar, and that would drive me insane because I'm a sugar fanatic. But I love Utah, its culture, and its weather, or its nature, not weather. Screw the weather. I hate snow.
Yeah.
You want to know my number one thing I hate about this state? Snow.
Gotcha. My wife's mom is from Western Colorado.
Ooh.
And they used to her family that still lives in that area takes day trips over to Utah fairly often and just loves it. So and I've actually been talking to a lot of wrestlers from the Utah scene, and everybody just mentions, just the splendor of just how beautiful it is out there. So
yeah, we're super lucky. It's gorgeous out here.
So tell us about, well, actually, let me say this. So they say the best wrestling personas are essentially yourself turned up to 11. So tell me a bit about in-ring Marty and kind of compare and contrast him with everyday you.
The funny thing is I 100%, by the way, I 100% agree with that. The Rock is just turned up. Dwayne Johnson turned up to 11 or 12.
Right.
Comparatively, I also, and when they came to me, hey, you're Marty the Moth, you're a big kid who's not all there. I can relate to being a big kid. I'm wearing a shirt about zombies right now. I got an action figure here of something like I don't want to say I am a big kid. I feel like what stuff made me happy when I was a kid, and if they still make me happy, I'm still going to enjoy them. So, also, I don't know. I think I get obsessive a lot. Like when I watch a movie, I will go down the rabbit hole of all the behind the scenes and all the Easter eggs, and like you'll watch the 3 hour movie, and then you're gonna watch. If my wife, I subject this to her every single time we watch a TV show or a movie or anything. She'll see the Easter eggs, the behind the scenes. That's another 3 hours of watching that stuff too. So I kind of get obsessive about stuff. My wrestling character was obsessive about stuff. I was obsessed with Sexy Star for a while, and that was the whole angle of a season coming up. You'll see. Um, Big kids like to play, and I like to play and have fun. Kids are usually down for anything as long as they look around and their parents and everybody that make sure it's safe says it's okay. I'm usually down for anything in a good time. So that's definitely true. And I believe as a kid, you learn more as most adults. I fell in love with learning again. So as far as character wise, I'm a big kid. I like learning stuff in that character. I like to steal stuff from, like, I'd wrestle Phoenix. So I'd steal a version of a move that he does and do it myself, because I can't be as athletic as Phoenix. But I could do something, and my character is goofy enough, like I could do something, make it look like shit, and say it's part of the character. And I like learning still. I've been reading a bunch, and so probably the obsessiveness and the I guess carefree goofiness. I think really that character really is me just turned up. Instead of I love people hard. Like when I love you, I will hug you. I'm a hugger. I'm a big touchy feely guy. I love touch. This sounds gonna make me sound horrible, but I love touching people. I love if I love you, you're getting a hug, and it might break a rib, and that's how it is. How do you turn that up to a level 11 or 12? I love you so much, I'm going to kidnap you, put you in my basement, and so therefore you never leave me. So I believe there's some that he saw who I was and is like, you know what, we can make this messed up thing. What's the worst thing we could do? And that kind of fits what Marty does too. So I think the obsessiveness, the goofiness, and the carefreeness is kind of the same as my character in real life, because really that is me, except instead of loving you till your ribs hurt and break, I won't kidnap you, but I will love you hard.
Got you. So we're going to jump into the Wayback Machine now. Tell us about your first match. What was it like? What were your thoughts going into it? What were your thoughts coming out of it? All that good stuff.
I am so sad that I'm not able to put my YouTube and my channels on here. So this is streaming on mine too, because I was just about to post my first match ever. I found it. Someone found it on a VHS, because you and me, in this conversation, know what a VHS is, but some of the wrestlers I talked to, it's like you put it in and you start it with a like they just don't know anymore. But my first match, I was so excited. It was against my best friend from high school, Pete Gallegos, awesome dude. We had done backyard wrestling before for like a year or 2 years or something, beating the crap out of each other. So now we got to do it in a ring. And actually, and I don't recommend this for kids nowadays, but this is the conditions of what Utah wrestling was at that time. I had some athletic ability from high school, doing sports all my life. And when I started wrestling, 3 weeks later, I was in a wrestling show. My first wrestling show was 3 weeks later after I started training. Now, I think that's a little bit fast. I made it work and told a story, but now I watch back at now. I'm still like, man, slow down. There's this, I got to do this. And it was my first match. So it is what it is. But I remember being so excited. And also my coach made me do it with my guy multiple times before we got there. Like practice matches, during practice, you go. Do what you would do in your first match. And I'm like, all right. And so we done the match, so I was comfortable with what we were doing in there. It's just because that's the guy I was working with. That's the guy I've been wrestling since I was wrestling in the backyard. I was just so amped and excited. My whole family showed up. His family showed up. I was friends with his family, obviously. and I was the bad guy. I wrestled under Tristan Gallo, the reflection of perfection, the best in sports entertainment, the man that men want to be and women want to be with. I was wrestled as Tristan Gallo, and so I got to talk so much crap to his family, and that made me happy as in a personal standpoint. My first match, I go back and watch it, and man, I did so many things wrong, but without that, I couldn't have had the life that I have now.
Exactly. So we've heard about your first match. Now, if you can narrow it down to one, tell us about your favorite match that you've been a part of.
Honestly, it's probably he goes as Swerve Strickland now.
Oh, yeah.
But you'll see it in season 3 of Lucha Underground. Probably one of my favorite matches is I had a match called Weapons of Mass Destruction.
Okay.
It is I like somewhere in the beginning of season 3, but in season 2, me and Swerve started getting into some fights, and then like they weren't wrestling matches. They were like I stole his dog tags, which to a military man who earned these dog tags, having them stolen from me is a big deal.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that's the story that we were playing with. And so they weren't wrestling matches; they were fights. Like we would just jump each other and fight out to the end of the thing, and then that's how they're going to end it in season 2. Hey, you guys just go out, have a 5 to 7 minute match, and then we'll be done. I'm like, I feel like we could play with this. And so me and Swerve heard, hey, we're going to end this little feud today. And then we walked up and asked him, like, can we do like a blow off of some sort? And they're like, okay, sure. So season 2 ended, or whatever season it was. I think it was season 2. Season 2 ended, and then out of the blue, and then instead of doing like a 5-minute thing, we just did another segment. We fought each other off. And then we had a Weapons of Mass Destruction match where I'm making fun of him for being in the military. So I dutied all up inside military garb. He wrestled in a military gimmick because he's legit from the military. So for him is an homage. My character, I'm just trying to be cool being a military man. I'm a big kid dressing up as a military man. Yeah.
Right.
But I had his dog tags. And so I think the funnest match was with him, Swerve, and I love seeing him being an AEW champ.
Oh, yeah.
Taking over the world right now, man.
He is doing good work.
Yes, absolutely. And then his music career is blowing up. He's using AEW as a platform to make all his his endeavors successful.
Yep. Like you were saying, he's building his brand.
That's right. And I remember specifically us going up and asking Chris Joseph, like, I feel like we could do something funner than this, than like a 5-minute beat each other up. And that was a fun story. And then he's like, okay. And then we changed what we were going to do that night into just another beat 'em up. And then when he came to us, Vampiro says like, okay, you guys, this is going to be your first main event in Lucha Underground for both of you. So I just want to let you know, like, you screw this up, you probably won't be in any main events for a minute. So don't screw it up. And then I just remember Swerve. He's like, yo, we got this. He's like, he looks at me. He's like, right? I'm like, yeah, we got this. And I just remember wrestling Swerve. It went into one of those moments where like everything just flowed. You're not thinking about what to do next or what to hit him with next. Everything just flowed. The crowd was insane. We told an awesome story. He was so easy to work with and everything just flowed. We had all these weapons placed outside of the ring, like missiles. And just how many pro wrestling companies have missiles on the outside of the ring, and then army containers and stuff like that. So definitely my favorite match is probably that Weapons of Mass Destruction match with him. I thought that was an awesome, fun story that wasn't going to be a story, and then we worked a little bit and nudged people enough where it turned out to be one of the coolest stories, I think, for me.
Gotcha. Speed round. Daniel Garcia.
Always nice to me. Been good. I wish I had more like personal stories on the people you're getting me.
Yeah, it's just I literally, before I do these, I just come up with just a random list of names, you know. So, and I try to sort of have it be a mix of names of today and names from the past as well, you know, just to sort of cover the whole
Right.
gamut. And I also try to get some representation from at least, you know, at least most of the major companies as well. So.
Right. Dig it. I love that. I love that. It goes from a question to a speed round. I dig that.
So, what has been would you and again this may be sort of you'll need to kind of narrow it down because you've been doing this as long as you have. What has been the strangest encounter you've had with a fan?
Oh, okay, okay, okay. I love fans enjoying what they do. So I've had
Oh yeah.
fans give me death threats on Twitter and stuff. That's always fun. Like, and this particular death threat was like, if you do this to Melissa Santos again, I'm going to come get you. Do this, I'm going to come to your house and he wrote me a list of things that he was going to do to me, which is very not very kind. And but I'm like, we filmed this a month ago. Like, this is going to happen again. I'm 100% going to do this. I didn't tell him that, but in my head, I'm like, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad you're enjoying the product. But I think I've had other people where I'm bleeding from the face and I hug them and it's on their shirt. I remember one time I had this person had the shirt it was my shirt on them. So I very much appreciate them. And then they're like, well, I can't wash this now because you bled all over it. I'm like, there's a lot of blood on your shirt right now. You should probably wash that. Like, no, this is great. I'll just hang it up. I'm like, okay. But and then another experience I had someone send from Germany something to my house, a bunch of pictures like, hey, will you sign this and send it back to me? Here, I printed off a whole bunch of these pictures from the internet. Will you send it to me? And normally I love that because I love making I love people having fun and enjoying what they do. But also, if you sent it to my personal house and I sent it back to you, that verifies, hey, you have my house address right. And you don't even live in the same country. So getting stuff to my personal house was interesting, but I feel like the top of the thing is for a while there while Lucha was going on really good, I would get a whole bunch of nudes. And me and my wife would go like guy or girl. And because it would show you like the picture, but it blur the whole picture out. So you're not quite sure what it is. You just like, this new person who is not your friend is sending you a picture. Would you like to accept? I'm like, crap, babe, do I want to accept? So then we would go, boy or girl, we'd hit the picture. And I remember one in particular, there was this guy who sent me a message and he said, if you, I'm going to have to give you a visual representation. If you walked into your hotel room and you saw me like this, and he grabs his butt cheeks and spreads them on your bed, what would you do? And then I received a picture of his hairy ass spread open on a bed, looking back at me with a big smile. And I thought that was an interesting one. I didn't write back to it. First off, I don't want anybody in my room unless I give them a room key. That's the first thing that came to my head. And also shave your ass. So just take care of things. Some people are into that. But yeah, blood on shirts people have with my blood. That was fun. But at the same time, I don't want to say that that's weird. Well, it is. Well, as a person who is trying to make an impact on your life, I think the more extreme you are, the better of an impact I'm having. So I enjoy all the weird stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you got a picture of me on your wall with a poster that I signed and like an action figure and something that I gave you, like, I think that's awesome. That means I'm doing my job right.
Exactly.
When you get to blood and showing me butt cheeks, I did something right. It's just sometimes a little bit crazy.
Well, speaking of butt cheeks, I recently, one of my guests recently, Sterling Silvers, was saying that he has seen your butt.
I'm 100% sure you've seen my butt. If
Yeah.
you've been to a wrestling match of mine, you've definitely seen my butt usually. I need to get a belt is basically what needs to happen is I need to get a better belt.
So anyway, he told me to tell you hello. So
Sterling Silvers, I love that man.
yeah,
He's a great man. He's going to do some good things.
he's a good dude. Yep. So can you share, and I know this sort of thing happens more often than we realize, but can you share an example of a time when you had to completely improvise during a match?
Yeah, many a times.
Yeah.
Most of my matches are improvised. Like, tell me the main story you're trying to say, and we'll figure out the rest out there. A lot of times, most of the time, actually. Especially when I remember sometimes over at Rocky Mountain Pro, my favorite place to wrestle is Rocky Mountain Pro. They have a TV product. They have a certain amount of time. So it's just like WWE and AEW. There's a ref in your ear saying, hey, we're going to commercial right now. Do something cool to go into commercial with. Or, hey, commercial's about ending. Or, hey, we got 90 seconds until your time segment's over. You get this done. And I remember one time going in there and they're like, hey, you got 90 seconds left. I'm like, okay, we're doing nothing we talked about. Let's do this. One time, I don't want to say, I remember from somebody, I'm not going to say their name from the WWE, but one of my friends said his biggest story with this is he had a 15-minute match with Jeff Hardy on Raw. Right before the match, they said it got cut down to like 8. Right as Matt Hardy's out there and he hadn't gone out yet, they're like, hey, you have 2. As he walked out there, the ref said, hey, take it home. And so the 15-minute match turned into, hey, well, you're going in there. You're going to do, you got right now, go home. We're ending this right now. And so that stuck out to me, just how crazy wrestling can go from like, I could have this 15-minute elaborate story that I could tell. Or what's the main point of this story? Cool. We can tell the same thing in 30 seconds. Hey, you're a bad guy. Sweet. I'm going to go like this. You punch me, you kick me in the dick. And that shows you're a bad guy. We could tell that in 15 minutes or we could tell it in 30 seconds. But that happens a lot in TV. So in Rocky Mountain Pro, I remember that happening just this weekend, actually. We were doing a pay-per-view where they're like, hey, my guy went out. I was going to go wrestle this guy. They're like, hey, by the way, I know you had 8. Now you have 5. I'm like, okay, cool. When I went out there, the bell rang. They're like, hey, you really actually scratched that. You have 3. I'm like, okay. We go to the corner, like, hey, you got 90 seconds. We're like, oh my gosh, here we go. So like most of my stuff is improvised. Like I mostly just give me the points of the story and we'll figure out the rest out there. Like most of my life is improvised. Yeah, and especially a lot of AAA stuff. AAA, a lot of times they throw like 6-man matches, 8-man matches, you and 3 guys versus you and 3 other guys. And then at that point, it's just like we got an idea of what we kind of want to do. And then in Mexico, 100% of the time, that went to shit. I don't know if I can say that, but it went to crap. And then we just beat the crap out of each other and went back to the story. But a lot of times in AAA, I'm trying to remember a particular time, except for just time and then just making stuff up when things went awry in Mexico. But pretty much every match, something goes crazy.
Gotcha. That's kind of how it is with doing these live streams. If something doesn't go a little haywire during a live stream, it's not a live stream.
Straight up. I'm so sad I couldn't get all the rest of the stuff on here, man. And it's the same thing with my streaming too. I don't touch it. Like I stream every Wednesday, twitch.com/Martin Casaus. And actually it's twitch.tv/Martin Casaus. But I stream every Wednesday. I watch wrestling every Wednesday, Rocky Mountain Pro, and then we play games together. And then I have this computer set up. It's awesome. And from next week, all I do is hit the off button and it shuts down. I hit the on button. Everything that worked last week should work this week. Yes.
In theory.
In theory, as a streamer,
Yes.
something goes crazy. Yesterday, my
yes.
internet didn't work, my camera didn't work, and then my OBS didn't work. And there's 3 things that I hadn't touched anything, but there's 3 random things I just had to fix out of nowhere. So,
Gotcha.
as you know, things go awry a lot.
Oh yeah, and you learn to fix things on the fly and improvise, adapt, and overcome.
That's right. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. I like that.
So, in terms of your in-ring work and your promos, who or what would you say are some of your influences? And it can be other wrestlers, pop culture, any of that type of stuff. Who or what has influenced you?
Serial killers.
Nice.
So I went bullies at first. So my original character was Tristan Gallo. So I was a bully. I didn't have a lot of self-confidence. Self-confidence is always a thing that everybody can work on in believing themselves. But I pretended to be the bully that I hated in the beginning of my career. I had bleach blonde tips. I was rude to everybody. So I would focus on the bullies that kind of messed around with me a little bit. But then as Lucha Underground started, like as things devolved into the Marty the Moth character, I'm the comedic relief, which was just me. And then I'm like, Vampiro, what can I do? And then we went to the kidnapping thing. So I'm like, okay, how deep can I go? And then Vampiro's like, how dark do you think my mind can go? I'm like, I can go as deep as I want. This is Vampiro's mind. So I looked a lot at like my wife's obsessed with, and it's typical white girl. She's obsessed with serial killing movies. But I enjoy the psychology of what makes people do what they do. So Ted Bundy stuck out to me a lot. He had some stuff here in Utah that went down. I think he escaped in Utah actually. He has a cave here where Ted Bundy stuck out to me. The Joker stuck out to me because they're both psychological characters. Where Joker was crazy all the time, Ted Bundy was could have ran for politics, and a lot of people loved him. He played a dual character where he could be your best friend the next time he's killing your sister.
Yep.
And so serial killer movies, like Halloween, in Halloween, I remember seeing him drag somebody by their face and just walking, just all normal, just dragging like a sack. So I do that in the wrestling ring. I actually put that in the video game. So serial killers, highlighted by Ted Bundy and the Jokers, who I kind of got my character stuff from. And Shawn Michaels, if I'm going to go with the wrestling one. Shawn Michaels looked like he was having so much fun in the 90s in the ring that I'm like, I want to have that much fun at work as that guy's smile says he's having fun.
Yep.
So
until he lost his smile.
Then he lost his smile. Then it's just not the same, right? Gotta have your smile.
Oh yeah.
So those 3 are kind of been my people that I went to. Shawn Michaels because of the carefreeness, and then the psychology of the Joker and serial killers is kind of what meshed my character into, and that's where I get my stuff from.
Gotcha. So, do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan? A match that you can have watched it a million times and it just never gets old, and there's always some little nugget you can glean from it.
To me, my favorite match of all time is Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, round 2. Something about that match, and I think it was just the emotion because I was invested in the story. And then you could see it on Shawn's face. Just he's so good at putting emotion in, being the underdog and trying. I remember him spitting I think it was at that one where he spit in his face. Just like a last thing of defiance before he got pile drive his head off. That match, I remember going to a pay-per-view, and I don't go there's not many times I've been personally and emotionally invested in a story, but I remember like being in a small room with a bunch of wrestling friends and like jumping up and down up in my seat, like and like being super sad when Taker won because Shawn Michaels was my dude, and so that is the match that like for me, if somebody can have that much emotion in the ring and it's not like they were hitting crazy triple backflips or anything like that. Uh, but there was emotion in Sean's face. There was emotion in the stories and stuff that they were doing. And if that kind of emotion can make me at that point as a 20 something year old man or whatever, and make me jump up and down and be excited like my favorite team won the football Super Bowl, then like if I can make that emotion in my matches, maybe it can have some sort of effect like that of the people around me.
Absolutely. And it's funny. I have asked that question on every single one of these, and I would say more than any other match, that match that you just referenced gets uh, I would say the majority of people have gravitated to that match just because it's just such amazing storytelling, like you said.
Yes, just the
It's a
emotion
master
is so
class.
high. Masterclass, 100%. It's like I wish some students like I keep mentioning Rocky Mountain Pro because that's my favorite place and it's my friend's company, but he has that school attached to it. I wish kids like I went to the Nightmare Factory. We did film study every week. So I wish more schools would do film study and like why was this so good? And then like you talked about character work being the most important. After WWE Tough Enough, Stone Cold Steve Austin was so kind to me. He's like, do you mind giving me your cell phone number? I'll critique some of your matches and we'll figure whatever out for your next steps. I'm like, sure, Mr. Stone Cold Steve Austin, guy who's made more money in wrestling than anybody else, so many other people in this business. I will sure send you my stuff and give you my cell phone number. But he told me
What a
more.
thrill that must have been.
It was crazy, man. It's a whole experience. The reality aspect plus the wrestling aspect plus you have these icons there.
Right.
But one of the things he told me after the show was more people were invested in the character of Stone Cold Steve Austin rather than I didn't have to do any of that flippy shit. I stomp a mud hole, I flip the bird, and then I do some stunners. That's all
Yep.
you need. So character work is the most important. And that stuck with me. And I think that's what seriously helped my career is character work. As that I just did that video game at Rocky Mountain Pro, the guy came out and he's like, what is your entrance? There's an entrance on here. There's an entrance as you walk. There's a certain way that characters can walk that make you stick out than the other characters. Stone Cold Steve Austin's coming out. If you see a silhouette of somebody walking in the ring and it happens to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, he's got to walk to him. There's 1,500 different ways to make your character stick out. And I wish more schools would look at this is the character work that these are the opportunities that you can have to make your character stick out so that we can easily just grab you and put you in a video game where you can make some great money and make a big grand career. Like you can make a great career by making character work stuff. So I wish more schools did stuff like that for character work and film study because that match,
Yep.
delish.
Absolutely. So, and this can be present day or past. You've been doing this 20 plus years now, so you've wrestled a lot of people. But who would be a dream opponent? And like I said, present day or past, who would you love to work that you haven't had the chance to work yet?
Honestly, it would probably be past because like I love where I'm at my wrestling career, so I'm having fun, but I will never get the chance to wrestle Macho Man or Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Maybe Ric Flair, but it's not going to be the same Ric Flair that I would watch
No.
when I was a kid. So I would love to wrestle Rick. I would love to wrestle Macho Man. Just and for different things because I feel like both of them are so character driven, but also like Rick They'd both be stupid fun. It'd be stupid fun to get in the ring with those icons. Hell, Steve Austin would be cool. When I put him in a headlock, I'm like, holy crap. What if I got in the ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin? That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
But Ric Flair, Macho Man. Ah, man. See, now you got me all excited. If I'm going to past or present, the Rock and Austin would be ones that are more present. That'd be super fun to get in the ring with. I just want to take a stunner and a rock bottom. That's all. That's all. Just stun me. Just stun me. Like, that'd be fun. That'd be really fun. There's some fun stories that we could tell. With Steve Austin, we could do the whole WWE tough enough student to fighting his leader thing or his coach thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
There's all kinds of possibilities. You know, Steve, if you're watching, one more match.
One more
you
match.
And Marty.
Looking at you, kid.
So, what hurts right now?
The list of what doesn't hurt might get smaller. You've seen me move around and did my different positions during this podcast.
Yeah.
Let's see. So honestly, my lower back gives me the most pain. I have 6 herniated discs in my spine. I just went to the chiropractor today, so that's feeling a little bit better. That's the big issue. But as far as like what has hurt, like I've herniated 6 discs. Those were 2 different times. There's 3 at one time, 3 another time. I've broken my ankle on WWE Tough Enough. There's metal in my ankle. I've torn my MCL. I broke my collarbone. I've had a lot of concussions and a lot of stitches. I have scars all over me, but it's okay. Wrestling's fake, right? Like,
I hate the F word. Orchestrated, predetermined, sure. Fake, absolutely not.
Yeah, wrestling is storytelling, man. That's what it is. It's the same thing as the Avengers. It's the same thing as Batman. It's the same thing as Superman. In fact, I play a lot of things that look kind of like a Joker-ish. The only thing is we don't get okay, awesome cut, or we don't get pads, or we don't get a second try. We do it all live, and is the most brutal live action theater of all time. And
for sure.
I think some people give it as some credit now that it's more out there, but at the same time, it's not. It's not. You don't know until you get in and figure it out. My chiropractor. I took my chiropractor, by the way, to Rocky Mountain Pro this weekend, and he just like, yes, because the original first time I did mocap, I'm doing in the game called the Wrestling Code by Virtual Basement. So if you guys are gamers, and if you're a gamer or if you stream games, the Wrestling Code will be coming out. I'm not going to say when because I don't know when, but it's going to come out eventually. And it's going to be amazing. But I took my chiropractor to it because last time I did mocap, I got injured. I don't like being injured. So I took my chiropractor down there, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'll do a whole bunch of stuff. No big deal. He got in the ring and he got down on one knee, hit his knee, and he's like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. This hurts. This is really hard. I'm like, I know. I've been in it. This is really hard. Yeah, this stuff hurts. I'm like, I know. So we're for you and your stuff that's going to be happening, Mr. Chiropractor Man. We're going to do this. And I shot somebody off and I clotheslined the crap out of them. And I just remember my chiropractor saying, oh, hell no. I am not doing that. This ground is really hard. I'm like, okay. I just want to make sure you know this stuff. This is real. This, you can't fake gravity.
Mm-mm. Mr. Gravity is a mean SOB.
Facts. Very much so. Very much so. I've been staring at your shirt for forever, and I want to know what it is. It's never forget.
Oh, never forget the jobbers.
I love that. Yes, I love that. I love that. All right. Where'd you get that?
Amazon. I just happened upon it, and I was like, I've got to have that shirt. So
well, you're right. You did. And now I want one. So now I got to go find this. So that's an awesome shirt.
I will dig it up and send you a link.
Please, that'd be great.
Yeah. So we've kind of touched on this already, but what do you have any additional thoughts on the current state of the business and also the role that social media is playing as a promotional tool?
Sure. I think the state of the business right now is the best that it has been since the Attitude Era. I feel
Mhm.
like there is, I'm going to pull this up a little bit. I feel like there is so much wrestling out there, and with the advent of the internet being able to show stuff from anywhere, I could watch a match in Japan that's happening right now and not have to physically be there. And there's so many different places for people to work. There's more opportunities for wrestlers. Keep in mind with that, there's also people who think they're wrestlers, never been trained, and so they'll go open up a school and train wrestlers even though they've never been trained. So
Right.
there's goods and bads to all of it, but I'd rather more wrestling be more and more in the culture of what we have than where it was before. So I think the state of professional wrestling right now is awesome. It's only gonna get cooler
Yep.
with with video games coming out, with this with the internet figuring out how about when wrestling's on Netflix. That's gonna be so many more eyeballs on wrestling on the normal. How many people do you know don't have Netflix? That's an easier question.
Exactly. I mean, yeah.
It's just not there. Most people have someone in the household, or they're stealing somebody else's account. They have Netflix.
Right.
So once wrestling's on there, I know people who just go and search anything to watch on Netflix. How many casual fans now are you going to see on Netflix that just see wrestling? And then
Exactly.
you see that there has been Heels. There's that show about OVW now that's out.
Mhm.
There's all these documentaries coming out, which props to WWE for showing like the real stories behind things, because that also builds the lore of professional wrestling, the more commercialized of professional wrestling. And WWE is doing great, bringing back like LA Knight, yeah, I love you. Doing Slim Jim, so that reminds everybody of Macho Man back in the day. They're making wrestling mainstream again.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think this is the best time for professional wrestling in years. If you guys are thinking about being a professional wrestler, do it. The best time to do it, if it wasn't yesterday, is today.
Absolutely.
But on that note, me and Matt were talking. All of that is possible because of the brands that are built and the access of the internet and the accessibility of being able to watch it from anywhere. And therefore, as a professional wrestler, it is your job to build a brand and use social media to build said brand. Because if you don't have social media, if I'm a promoter and I saw you have this amazing match somewhere, how do I get in touch with you? I guess I had to contact the promoter from that person, and then from that match, and try to find the promoter from that match or that company, and then have them try to get in contact with you to have you get in contact with me. Or if you have a social media that says, "Oh, hey, I'm Martin. I got a wrestling show on Tuesday." Like it's easy for me to say, like, "Oh, here's his social media," and then just write you a message. How can I book you for blah 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 promotion? So social media and building a brand is almost like 80% of professional wrestling is letting people know who you are and that you're there wrestling. If you
Right.
show up at the table and they know you're there and they know who you are, they can use you. But if you have no social media and you're not marketing yourself, you don't bring merch, you have no idea, like this kid has spandex, but I don't know what he can do. Like social media is so important, guys. So important, Matt. Like you probably know it from building your podcast here.
Oh
That
yeah.
social media is so important for everybody building a brand.
It sure is. So, if you could give any advice to your younger self, knowing what you know now, what would it be? And we've sort of touched on this already a little bit, but anything further?
100% believe in yourself. whether the more self-development I do and personal development I do, I have realized that the old adage is if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. And I was lucky enough where I didn't believe I could, but I knew if I went to practice every single time there's a practice, that those are the steps that would maybe get me to the wrestling ring. And then, hey, I can't make it out once I learned more about wrestling. Hey, I can't make it out in the world of wrestling without reaching to promoters and getting outside of Utah and making a name for myself. Like, I didn't think I'd be holding championships, being in video games, being in movies and all this kind of amazing stuff that this life has created. But I knew the steps. This would be the steps if I thought I was going to make it. So believe in myself. I think that would be the biggest thing that I would tell myself growing up or when I first started. Because I believe my first character was honestly a way for me to figure who I was and then project all the things from, oh, I was bullied, I don't believe in myself, boo hoo hoo, that I was believing from myself and making the story in my head of. I was projecting that into a character that I could turn into a bad guy. So believing in myself, I think that was would be my biggest advice. If I met right now 20 or 30-year-old Martin, that would be what I would tell him. So,
Yep. Because, you know, we can all be our own best friend or our own worst enemy.
absolutely.
So,
Life is the world that you create, and it all starts up here.
absolutely. So, do you have any pre-match traditions? Any things you try to do consistently before you walk through the curtain?
100%. I pray every single time I get on my knees, and I pray that for safety and that I do good for the fans and I give them what they came to pay for to come to get. I do that, and then I dump water on myself obscenely. Just I don't know why, but Triple H just did it, and I have been doing it ever since I was playing in the backyard. But a lot of people use baby oil on themselves. I use water instead of baby oil. I use water just so the people. By the time I get out there, it doesn't slip anymore.
Gotcha.
So I pray. I hit my knees and I pray. I pour water on myself. And then I jump up and down like the Rock just to try to warm myself up, do some squats and maybe some push-ups. But that's it. Like there's not a lot of prep work that I do. Just pray, wet myself, and jump up and down and kind of make sure my body is ready. I need to probably stretch better. Sometimes I do that. Most of the time not. But I should be better at stretching. I wish stretching was in that regimen, and I should probably change that.
Yep. Take the time. Take the time and stretch. You know, it'll pay dividends.
Yes, absolutely. The older I get, the more I'm realizing all these habits that you were told when you were younger, it came for a reason, not just to look good, but hey, so you can walk when you're 60, 50, 40,
Well,
etc.
I was going to say, wait until you hit 50. Your body starts to do some weird stuff, man. That's all I can tell you. I've thrown my back out sneezing.
Oh, no.
It's,
I feel you. With these herniated discs, I cough, and something like yesterday, my roommates made fun of me because I hit my knees. Just that sometimes my herniated discs are great, sometimes they're not. So coughing and weird stuff puts me down, or I grunt when I get up, or stuff like that. I feel like wrestling. Every year in wrestling is like dog years, where you add like 7 years to your body.
I believe it. I believe it. So, you know, something that we've done in each of these that's just been kind of fun is we've let the current guest pose a question for the next guest. So my previous guest was actually a wrestler based in the Indianapolis, Indiana area by the name of Ashton Adonis.
Oh,
And
nice.
the question that he posed was, what would be your dream venue to wrestle in, and what has been your favorite venue to wrestle in thus far?
Those are great questions. I'm trying to think of a question I should ask this next person because I know I feel like that's going to come up next.
Yeah.
The dream venue, I think, is probably going to be Madison Square Garden. Like that's the mecca of the WWE. That's the mecca of the biggest company. Like that's everyone wants to wrestle or play basketball or do their thing at Madison Square Garden. And I've driven past it, but I've never actually even attended a thing at Madison Square Garden. So I think that'd be fun. Because I'm from Utah, the Delta Center and Maverick Center down here, are awesome to wrestle at, which I've done that. So that's awesome. So those would be my dream one. As far as my favorite one I've wrestled on, it'd probably the Mexico City Arena. I wrestled at Triple Mania. There was 28,000 people in Mexico City Arena, and it was against Rey Mysterio. And it was one of the coolest things. My first time in Mexico, wrestling in front of Mexico's hometown hero, and beating him up. So it was me, several other lucha guys. It was, I don't know, it doesn't matter, but it was. I'm not gonna go over it, but it was with Rey versus Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, a few other guys that I was super comfortable with. We're all from lucha, and we get to do it at Mexico Arena, the biggest arena they have there at their WrestleMania event, Triple Mania. So probably Mexico City Arena is probably my favorite to wrestle at. Or Karakin Hall in Japan was built up in my head to be a big giant thing. Then I realized it's kind of like just a school gym looking thing. I loved the lore of the Karakin Hall, but I like the bigness of the Mexico City Arena.
Gotcha. So we're getting toward the end of things. Do you have any upcoming shows or anything at all that you'd like to give some hype to?
I've been super focused on my business, so I'm actually been wrestling at Rocky Mountain Pro a whole bunch. I have a funeral at their next event, so I will be there in December. I'll be at James Bond event filming this Sunday, but you can't really join that, but you can watch it on YouTube. I would think Rocky Mountain Pro is Rocky Mountain Pro is what I want everybody to go watch. That is where I go. There's places in Utah that I wrestle, but I'm booked when I'm wrestling when they have another show here. So Rocky Mountain Pro is D'Lo Brown is the one agenting from the WWE. Vince Russo's writing television. Big Van Vito from WCW is there. I'm trying to get them associated with the Wrestling Code video game. Like, how many other people, independent wrestling companies, do you know they run over 100 shows for their students and wrestlers? That's like a third of the WWE schedule. But a lot of wrestling companies run once a month. These guys run over 100 shows. They have weekly television written by Vince Russo, who wrote for Hulk Hogan. Just saying that. It is being aged and your matches are being watched by D'Lo Brown, who was the talent relations of TNA for forever.
Right.
Also tag team with The Rock. There's that thing too. He's also a legend in WWE, but that's fine too. I'm there, yippee-ki-yay. But like Rocky Mountain Pro, having the next match. It's going to be it's going to be the first weekend of November. That's the one I really want to promote. I'm booked a few other places, but that's the one I've sponsored that company because I'm so believe in it because I know the guy who's running it. My company can help them grow. And with the roster of Vince, D'Lo, me, Sin Bodhi, which was Kazarni in the WWE, Vito, there are people behind this that see the golden goose egg. And I'm excited for the world to see it. There's a weekly television program that is watched by Vince Russo every Tuesday on his Twitch channel. So go check out that. So if there's anything that I would like to promote, I would like to, as far as wrestling, because obviously I have my own businesses. If you like making money, send me info because I show people how to make money when they buy every single thing they ever buy, gas, groceries, etc. But as far as wrestling, the Wrestling Code video game is going to be coming out. I don't know when. So that's hard to promote for right now. But Rocky Mountain Pro comes out with the television show every single Wednesday or Tuesday, one of those, on YouTube, written by the stuff I was just said. And so that is the company that people need to check out is Rocky Mountain Pro in Golden, Colorado.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, before we wrap up, we're going to take a quick run down the card for AEW Wrestle Dream that is coming up this Saturday. And I just want to get your predictions on the matches here. So, and these are in no particular order.
Okay.
We've got the AEW World Championship, Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley. Who you got?
Danielson.
So you
I'm
think
rooting for Moxley.
Moxley?
I think Moxley would be cool, but I think Danielson. I think Danielson will retain. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless he's going to retire. I heard rumors like he wanted to go home or something.
Yeah. His neck is apparently giving him problems again. So I mean, he's in kind of the tail end of things. I think, at least as far as full time in ring goes.
And he just had a big storyline with Swerve, if I remember correct.
He did.
Big match.
He did,
at least.
So
I might change that to Moxley, actually. I might change that to Moxley, actually. Just the more you know about how much real life makes the stories is very important.
Right. So then we've got the AEW International Championship. We've got your old running buddy Ricochet, old Prince Puma,
nice.
Versus Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita.
I'm gonna go with my boy Ricochet.
Okay.
My boy Ricochet every time.
Yeah, that man is doing some amazing work.
He always does amazing work, and the thing is like I don't think he got a chance to really shine in the WWE. He's probably one of the smoothest wrestlers I've ever. The probably smoothest wrestler I've ever wrestled. He just like flows. Gravity doesn't just kind of forgot about him. Yeah. And then I remember Matt Cross. He was on WWE Tough Enough with me, but he also played Son of Havoc and Lucha Underground. Matt Cross did gymnastics for like 9 years or something like that to prepare him for professional wrestling as he was learning professional wrestling so he can do cooler stuff. And it was funny because one time he told me, man, Ricochet, like I took 9 years and almost went to the Olympics for gymnastics. And then Ricochet just comes over here and is like, triple backflip? Yeah, sure, I'll try it. And then nails it every time. Yeah. So Ricochet is something else, man. One of the best wrestlers in the world, and I hope now he finally gets to go. And he's had so many matches with Ospreay. He's going to have some fun coming up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. TNT Championship: Jack Perry and Katsuyori Shibata.
I know Jack Perry most, and he beat me up at AEW, so I'm going to have to go with him.
Okay. Darby Allin and Brody King.
Brody. Sorry, Darby, but you like getting beat up, so you're going to do real good at this match.
Yeah. Darby enjoys pain.
Yes. A masochist, is it?
Brody can bring pain for sure.
Very good at it. Yes.
Yeah, that's a big dude.
It's a big boy. Yeah.
So then we've got 2 Ring of Honor related matches on the card. We've got the ROH World Championship, Mark Briscoe versus Chris Jericho.
I got to go with my boy Jericho. Okay. I think that I'm just going to go with Jericho. We'll just leave it at that. I dug him. He was always nice to me. So there you go.
And then the ROH World TV Championship, Atlantis versus another old running buddy, Brian Cage.
I got to go with my running buddies, Brian Cage. I'm sorry. Brian is going to do some whooping this match, and it's going to be fun to watch. I also feel like he is something that people haven't experienced how amazing Brian Cage is.
Yeah, I was actually fixing to say that. I feel like Brian Cage is one of the more underrated talents, and has been for a lot of his career.
100%.
And I don't really get it because I mean he's got the look, he's got the presence, he's got the in-ring ability, he's even good on the stick.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't get why he isn't just being pushed to the moon.
Right. And I don't either, but I know him. He's a guy that
He
works
seems like a good
very
dude.
he's so awesome. Um I met him and his wife at Lucha Underground. Melissa Santos is actually his wife.
Yeah.
But awesome dude. He's a hard worker, and it's going to be awesome when he finally gets the love that he deserves.
Yep. Absolutely. And one final sort of X factor for this show, and it may or may not happen on this show, but there's rumors that it's coming. Do you think Shane McMahon shows up at Wrestle Dream, or do you think he shows up in AEW at all?
Nah, I
You don't think so?
Nah, I don't think so. I think he's been too tied to his family thing. I think it would be cool, and that would shake things up. Not
Yeah.
anywhere particular about like well, Shane McMahon can go there. Anybody can go there. Like
Right.
so,
Right.
but I don't think it'll happen. I think I know there's pictures or something with them all together, but
Yeah.
also I have friends in WWE and in AEW, so
Right.
I pretty sure it'd be about the same there too. So,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
don't think it'll happen. But I think do I think it'd be cool? That would definitely be an interesting.
Yeah. It would. And you know, one thing I will say, you know, especially with the new regime in WWE and their willingness to collaborate, like they've been doing with TNA, for instance, recently, you do get the sense for the first time in a long time that just about anything is possible. So you know, so who knows, you know?
And I think that was one of the cooler things about the 90s, like the Attitude Era, is just all of a
Yeah.
sudden you started seeing people flipping over. And you're like, I don't even know what's going to happen next.
Right.
And I think that's coming back. And I think
Yeah.
once we hit Netflix, I say we, but wrestling as a whole hits Netflix. Anytime any company in wrestling does good, that is good for our business.
A
That is
rising tide lifts all ships.
100%.
Yep.
So I don't think it's going to happen that Shane goes over there, but I do think it'd be interesting. And you're right. Anything can happen at this time of day.
Yep.
Wrestling is the best it's been for a long time.
Absolutely. Well, Marty, thank you so much for your time. This has been an absolute blast. I have had the time of my life talking to you, and like I said, I really appreciate you taking the time. You know, because I'm a small fish, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing. The bookings for this are coming fast and furious. I'm booked now through the first week of November.
Nice.
And I'm you know, and I'm enjoying focusing on the indies because you know I'm enjoying helping to tell the story of people chasing a dream. And
Ooh.
you know, it's just really been cool. I've gotten to meet some really cool people. I've had some great conversations. This has been just a really fun ride, and you know, I don't know where it's all going, but it's going somewhere cool. So you know, and I'm just having a blast, being a very small part of an industry that I've loved for 40 plus years. So,
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I love seeing people do what they love because you can see a difference when someone does what they love versus what they have to do. You can see them, people just light up, and you saw it right there when you were just describing what you're doing right now. You could see it in Matt's face. Don't tell people, you can see it in Matt's face. So you just saw it, that he loves what he does. And I love seeing people do what they do and be able to succeed in it because you don't get big without being a small fish in a pond. So this is how you start. You get bigger and bigger. You have the time of your life the whole time doing so. That's the whole point of it, is just doing what you love. So I appreciate you bringing me on, man.
absolutely. And coming up next week on Monday, the 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern, I've got a wrestler from right here in Georgia by the name of Edward Draven.
Okay.
Then on Tuesday the 15th, I've got a wrestler / podcaster named Chris Carnage.
Okay.
Then on Wednesday the 16th at 7:30 Eastern, I've actually got a guy who is a veteran of many companies, including TNA and NWA, the outlandish Zicky Dice.
I love Zicky.
Yes, I'm looking forward to having Zicky on. I think we're going to have a good time together.
Well, just let me know any way I can help. I know because of what I've been able to blessed enough to do for the past 20 years, doing what I love. I have a lot of contacts of people that are doing what they love. So if you ever have an idea, is hey, I want somebody, let me know. I'm sure I can figure it out.
Absolutely. And then on Thursday the 17th, a week from today, I've got a wrestler by the name of Shea Guzman, who's going to be my guest that night. So, like I said, the bookings are rolling right along. Like I said, thank you for your time. Everybody that's been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that'll be watching this on replays, thank you for that. If you like what we've got going here, continue to spread the word. This thing is really taking on a life of its own. And like I said, just having a blast doing it. Everybody have a great night, a great weekend, and we will